Welcome to the Tuesday, September 8th, 2020 Frankfort Village Board meeting. We call this meeting to order and we ask our clerk, Brian Feary, to take the roll, please.
Mayor Holland.
Here.
Trustee Burrell.
Here.
Trustee Flavio.
Here.
Trustee Farina.
Here.
Trustee Ogle.
Here.
Trustee Petro.
Here.
Trustee Severia.
Here.
Clerk is here. Attorney Mahoney.
Here.
Attorney Lamore. Village Administrator Rob Pisha.
Here.
Village Administrator Jeff Cook.
Here.
Deputy Chief Keegan.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The next item on our agenda is what we call the unanimous consent agenda. All items on the unanimous consent agenda will be voted on after a single motion. If one of the trustees wants to discuss one of the items in more detail, we'll just remove it from the consent agenda. So I first ask, do any trustees want to remove any items from the consent agenda? Well, they're certainly routine, so I don't hear any, so then I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Trustee Ogle and a second by Trustee Petro to approve the consent agenda. And we do want our audience here in the boardroom and our audience at home on the television and the internet to know something about the items we're passing, so we'll go over each one briefly. The first one is the approval of the minutes from our last meeting on August 2nd, 17th, and the second one's the approval of the bills, and we'll go to the chairperson of our Finance Committee, Trustee Severia, for a report on those.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bills tonight are fairly routine with them totaling $1,132,487.33. Largest line item on this making up this number is the Sewer and Water Extension Fund with a number of $579,477.79 to Strip Brothers Excavating for water main replacement. That's all I have for the bills tonight.
And those are all of the items on the consent agenda. So before we discuss them and vote on them, is there anyone in the audience who wanted to make a comment about any of these particular items? Hearing none, then I would go to the trustees. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll go to our clerk, Brian Feary, for the vote.
Trustee Severia.
Yes.
Trustee Petro.
Yes.
Trustee Ogle.
Yes.
Trustee Farina.
Yes.
Trustee Clavio.
Yes.
Trustee Borelli. Motion carries.
We have another item of business this evening, and it comes from our Committee of the Whole that we held just before this board meeting. And we're going to go to Trustee Borelli for a report on this issue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item has to do with Project 7, which is the final phase of our wastewater treatment plant expansion project. We had a committee of the whole meeting just before this meeting where we discussed change order number 2 for Project 7, the North and West Wastewater Treatment Plant Abandonment and North Wastewater Treatment Excess Flow Storage Pond project. This project is part of the third and final phase of the village's wastewater treatment plant consolidation program. The village's current contract with Joseph J. Henderson and Son for the project includes removal and disposal of 165,000 gallons of sludge from the existing excess flow storage pond and the agreed upon supplemental unit price of 40 cents per gallon for additional sludge removal over the base bid of 165,000 gallons. The contract also contains language allowing the village to reject the supplemental pricing. Baxter and Woodman, who are the project engineers for the project, have since revised the estimated sludge volume to 2.1 million gallons. Upon receipt of the revised sludge volume estimates, staff rejected the supplemental pricing and began negotiations with the contractor. J.J. Henderson agreed to change their supplemental unit price of 40 cents per gallon to 7.1719 cents per gallon for the additional sludge removal and disposal, resulting in a cost increase of $333,000. J.J. Henderson also requested a time extension of 71 calendar days for the change in scope of services. Members also reviewed a request from the staff to construct additional stormwater management improvements at the entrance road of the North Plant to address the drainage problem in the amount of $13,428. It was the consensus of the Committee of the Whole to forward a recommendation to the Village Board to approve change order number 2 for Project 7 as presented. So I'll go ahead and make a motion to accept the recommendation of the Committee of the Whole and adopt a resolution authorizing the execution of change order number 2 for Project 7, North and West Wastewater Treatment Plant Abandonment and North Wastewater Treatment Excess Flow Storage Pond Project to reflect an increase of $346,428.00 to its current contract with Joseph J. Henderson and Son, revised contract price of $6,265,756.00, and an extension of 71 calendar days as part of the village's wastewater treatment plant consolidation program.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by trustee Borelli and a second by trustee Petro. Any discussion on this expensive item?
I would just say, yes, it is a change order, and it's an increase, but I think as noted in the committee earlier, it's smart contracting to reject the supplemental pricing and great negotiations by staff to reduce the cost, because it could have been much more costly.
Staff has done a nice job on this issue. I certainly agree. Anyone else? Then we'll go to our clerk, Brian Ferry, for the vote.
Trustee Yokel?
Yes.
Trustee Farina?
Yes.
Trustee Severia?
Yes.
Trustee Petro?
Yes.
Trustee Clavio?
In favor.
Trustee Borelli?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next item on the agenda is what's called the Mayor's Report. The first item on the Mayor's Report is Rail Safety Week 2020 proclamation. And I'm just going to read a couple of things from the railroad, from the National Rail Safety Week proclamation. And some of it's kind of sobering. There are 2,220 rail grade crossing collisions in the United States in 2019. They resulted in 812 personal injuries and were responsible for 294 fatalities. Then, in addition, there are 1,111 trespassing incidents. Realize the railroad tracks are they're private property. They belong to the railroad. You're not supposed to be out on them. And those trespassing incidents have resulted in 579 pedestrians being killed on railroad tracks and another 532 injured while trespassing on railroad property right-of-way in 2019. We have a railroad that goes through Frankfort, the Canadian National. Please stay off the tracks and be careful when you come to the crossings, even where we have crossing guards. Slow down and take a look. So it's just that sort of thing. Anyway, I would entertain a motion to approve a proclamation declaring September 21 through 27 as Rail Safety Week in the village of Frankfort.
So moved, Mr. Mayor. Second.
We have a motion by Keith Ogle. Who did the second? Adam? And trustee Borelli made the second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes. And then we have an election coming up, the presidential election, and our clerk, Brian Ferry, will be talking about a different election that's also going to get started pretty soon. But this is the national election that lots of people know about, and there has been concern expressed about mail-in ballots. And I am pleased to announce this evening that the Frankfort Library has agreed to be a place that you can take your mail-in ballot and have it go directly to the county clerk. So there will be a box at the library, a tamper-proof box, heavy steel box that you can put your mail-in ballot in, and then it will be taken by the clerk for Will County and counted on Election Day. I think this is a great thing. I encourage the clerk to have these boxes at every polling place, including here at the Village Hall in Frankfort, and logistically, and because they're expensive, I think, they're not doing it. But that may happen in the future, and I think that would be great if we could just have people come in here, stick their their ballot into a box and leave, rather than risk the getting together with other people to vote. But anyway, it will happen at the library, and I think that starts Thursday, September 24th, and I don't know when it ends. I don't know when it ends, but it'll be available anytime the library's open, at least till I'm sure a week before the election or so. Hydrant flushing begins September 21st. There'll be a schedule posted on our website at villageoffrankfort.com. The senior breakfast, unfortunately, has been canceled, and so has the Triad Senior Health Expo that we were going to have in September because it's not appropriate during this pandemic to have gatherings of people. We are, though, going to have the Old Plank Road Trail 5K run and walk, and we're going to do it virtually. It's going to be, sign-ups will be available at the village website and at Race Time, the company that helps us with the timing and such. And so it'll be kind of fun. It'll be like our fishing derby was. Instead of everybody gathering at the same time to go fishing or to go running, you do it on your own and you turn in your time and don't cheat. And we'll see who wins. That should be interesting. Anyway, I think it's a nice idea, and congratulations to Sue Lynchy on our staff for coming up with it. And she has a nice brochure made up for it to send around to the various places where we post such things. And the modified country market continues through October 25th. And one final add-on item, it's too bad our police chief isn't here, but we're certainly pleased to have a deputy chief, but I was going to comment to the police chief that I noticed that he is what's called a certified police chief. And it turns out there are only 78 of these in the state of Illinois. And our police chief has gone through the process, and it's one of these, it takes some time, right, Rob? It's a bunch of horsing around, and it's making sure that he's got good ideas and he's more professional, and it has to be renewed periodically. So this is the second time he's done this, and good for us to have a police chief that willing to take that extra time to do such a thing. So please express our appreciation to Chief Barica. And with that, we will go to our deputy chief for the police department report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Our PD newsletter is out, and it can be found online at the Village of Frankfort website. There's a lot of good information on there. Sergeant Leanne Bender does a very good job of doing a lot of hard work on the letter and putting it together. There's a lot of good information in there. Information on some of our new hires, some Triad information, some statistics, and some additional information on some training that we do as a police department. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, and it's very nicely done, and it's appreciated by our residents to see right on the front page here the statistics about crime and a comparison to recent years and just how we're doing. Good for you. Good for putting that sort of information out. It's another reason we should have social media to be there. So, with that, we'll go to our village administrator, Rob Pisha, for the village administrator's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to give you an update on the never-ending St. Francis Road project. Hopefully you've all had an opportunity to drive it. It actually looks fantastic. It has been prepped for finalization and the seating, and it's actually, I'm happy to report, they're putting sod down. So the project along the whole roadway will have sod. And the reason why it's just waiting is because IDOT will only release the funds for sod after a certain date, and that's actually when the weather starts cooling off, so they can cut it and then put it down. So we'll see that in the next couple of weeks, where you'll see sod being placed and take advantage of the cooler and wetter weather. Also, with our street resurfacing program, there are still 3 streets that are left to be done. And then following that, there'll be some restoration work that will be done at various intersections where they put in the new sidewalks and did some other work. That will follow immediately after the other streets are finished. And that's all that I have tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, certainly the street resurfacing seemed to go very well this year and was really quite quickly done, which is nice. On St. Francis, there seemed to be one little portion of the bike trail that's not done.
Yeah, right at Frankfort Road or 88th Avenue, so I'm waiting to find out what the status is.
Okay.
Yep.
Remind them they're not done.
Yes.
Oh, good. Thank you. And with that, we go to our village attorneys, Hannah Lamore and George Mahoney, for the village attorney's report.
Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Well, thank you, Hannah. And that brings us to the topic of other business, and this evening we'll start with Trustee Borelli.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I wanted to say thanks to the police, Deputy Chief Keegan. I think Deputy Chief Dowding was out at handling the protest a couple weeks ago now, maybe. I think we had 4 in a row. I think they were generally peaceful. There was protest, counter-protest, and I thought it was handled very well from what I heard. And so I appreciate you guys going out and you know, you're great at handling these types of situations, your forces, and it's not lost on me, so thank you. Second thing I wanted to bring up was some of the upcoming events, and again, I think I expressed this at a previous meeting, but I hope we're not just canceling everything. Let's find a way to make things happen. One that's coming up is Halloween, right? And I hope there's a way to do this in a safe manner. Hopefully there's some best practices that come out, but I'd like to see us go forward with that. Student Government Day, and we got to work with the school on that, but if we have to push it to the spring to make that work, I hope we can do it. Some of these other events that aren't big, they're smaller in scale, that we can make happen, that makes sense. We can do them in a safe way. I hope we pursue them. And that also goes for our restaurants. I know we're going to discuss it tomorrow, but going into the winter, what can we do to expand their ability to operate? Obviously under the current restrictions, the Region 7's under, and it looks like we'll still be under them for quite some time. What can we do to help our restaurants out? So anyway, I'm just hoping this board does everything we can to enable them to continue to operate. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Adam. Trustee Ogle.
Thank you, Mayor. As Trustee Borelli just mentioned there too, we will have a committee meeting tomorrow where we are addressing one of the issues for some of our downtown restaurants. I think the number for our region, Will County, has actually gone down. I think in the last couple of days. I think today was 7.4. It's moving finally in the right direction. But overall, this is devastating for all the businesses, for Chicago restaurants, the restaurateurs, as we're moving into things where there are not many options to do outdoor dining in Illinois, in northern Illinois. And in some cases, this, Godzilla did less destruction to Tokyo than some of the decisions that have done to our economy here locally. So please do support your restaurants and your shops. Get out there and buy gift cards if you can. I know people are struggling at home as well, but the restaurants are doing carry out. We've been saying this long before the COVID, was that make sure you support your restaurants, otherwise they go away. Now even more so. It's so important to support them. They're struggling, and at 25% capacity, whether they can even make it. Most of them at 50% capacity, we're saying there's just, they can't do that long term. So hopefully we'll keep putting pressure on our Springfield elected officials to move to something that makes more sense here. Keep people safe, but at the same time, this is crushing our economies. Other than that, I hope everybody had a great Labor Day weekend. It was a little different not having the Fall Fest, but hopefully next year that'll all be back and humming. And as again Trustee Burley said, I hope we're not looking to cancel all these events. We need to have some normalcy, and any way that we can pivot these events or modify them, I think, is very important for everyone's mental health. but also, we're looking to keep everybody safe and healthy. That's all I have tonight, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Trustee Farina.
It's hard to follow those two. They had quite the statements. In regards to restaurants and the current mitigation guidelines that unfortunately does not allow diners into restaurants is a tough one. I'm all for protecting the public health. I've been a huge advocate on the board that we do protect the public health and have been strongly sharing that viewpoint for 6 months now and will continue to do so. But I have a real hard time knowing that we can sit here for 4 hours tomorrow night, but we can't spend an hour downtown in a restaurant or over on 45. It's unfair. It's unfair that someone can spend 6 hours in a casino, but they can't spend 30 minutes dining in a restaurant. So I would be open and supportive of writing a letter to our state legislators and the governor as a board and saying, hey, create fair guidelines for our businesses. I think that's key. So I appreciate both of you bringing that up. As for Halloween, this mama is concerned about Halloween. If my kids can't go to school, how do I justify them going door to door? Certainly something we need to talk about. I don't know what the modifications could be, but it's something to talk about because I do know moms are starting to share that, and kids are starting to get their Halloween costumes. I know Spirit Halloween is over on 30 right now, so good comments. And finally, I have to congratulate Zach Brown, Jeff Cook for helping lead us to have an award for our comprehensive plan. It's a prestigious award here in the Chicagoland area. Our plan commission worked hard on it. The advisory committee did too. And that's a great thing for Frankfort. And I know it's a great document that we've already referred to and supported and will continue to do so for 40 years. So thank you. Thank you for your work, Jeff and Zach, if you're watching. That's it.
Thank you, Margaret. Good suggestion about the letter, and we'll talk about it tomorrow night.
Very good.
Trustee Severia.
I actually have nothing this evening, Mayor, so.
Thank you, Jean. Trustee Petro.
So many, I just want to be like ditto, 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 right? You know, lots of good stuff going on here. And yes, it's Tuesday because yesterday was Labor Day, but there was just a certain void, certainly in Frankfort, right? And there's just been so many things that we've had to pivot and adjust to. And I don't know about all the other moms and dads that are helping with e-learning right now, but I'm sure everyone's exhausted from trying to manage our different technology. So I just would agree, you know, whatever we can do as a board to help continue to move Frankfort forward, our economies forward, events forward in creative ways, just like this virtual, 5K. It's just something that still brings us together, whether we are virtual or in person. I think those are the things that we need to continue to do, and we're always open to new ideas and suggestions, so I love all of that, and the staff getting creative and our residents getting creative.
Thank you, Jess.
Thank you.
Trustee Clavio.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I begin with a thank you to the 4 businesses who actually started in town this week, or this month, over August. It's great to see that new businesses are actually obtaining business permits, and we welcome them to Frankfort. One of those happens to be a restaurant, too, so how's that for a bang in the face? You know, you apply for a business, open your doors, and you get shut down the next day. But the other thing is I can't echo enough, and if I start crying, you know why. No one felt the void this weekend more than me. It was weird. It was just weird. For those of you who don't understand Fall Fest or aren't familiar with Fall Fest, close to 80% of the revenues made that weekend go back into our community. That's through civic organizations, concerts on the green, scholarships, all sorts of things, back to our restaurants, by gift certificates, all sorts of things. And unfortunately, that's all gone. Thank you, COVID. But we'll get back next year stronger than ever. It was very comforting to see the amount of people who did use social media to say Frankfort's wonderful. And I'll close with the fact that the 2019 festival was rated number 6 in the nation of all festivals of its kind. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
And congratulations are in order to you, John, on your role in making that festival as good as it was.
Thank you.
So thank you, and all of us feel the pain from this year and share it, but probably not as much as you do. Understand.
It was weird.
Yeah, I'll bet. So Clerk Fury.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to say the Village of Frankfort will have petition packets available on Tuesday, September 22nd, 2020, for persons who wish to run in the April 6, 2021 consolidated election. The filing period for candidates seeking election at the April 6 consolidated election is December 14th through 2021. The village municipal offices to be elected are village president, village clerk, and 3 trustee positions. So visit the State Board of Elections website at www.elections.il.gov for additional information and to download the 2021 Candidates Guide. I also just wanted to mention everybody looks good in their business attire. I had a tough time getting my tie around my neck because I've gained so much weight in the last 6 months. So thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Brian. And that brings us to the part of our meeting called public comments. Is there anyone who would like to make a comment to the village board tonight? Not hearing any, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned.